So, pranam to all of you, and greetings from Nanda Ashram in North Carolina. Today I'm sharing these brief words because since I have announced a few days ago, as you may know already, I will be launching my next book, my second book, Radical Personalism, a Revival Manifesto for Proactive Devotion, this next Sunday, June 18th, will be the officially publication day and launching day of my book. And as you already know that, and as you already may know that my book was somehow based on a recent series of lectures that I gave for almost half a year on the topic of radical personalism. Also, in the very last class of that series of lectures on radical personalism, I did not only mention that I was planning to publish a book on the topic, but also I mentioned that eventually I was thinking to make a Facebook group where we will have the chance for those who would like to continue ruminating, so to say, about the topics we have shared on the series and eventually on the book. So I mentioned that at the very end of my Radical Personalism series of lectures, the intention to make a platform for those who would like to continue extending the reflection of the different ideas that we shared in the series and eventually in the book that I'm about to publish. So in other words, I could say the book that I'm about to publish is somehow an extended reflection and development of the points that I've been sharing in my series of lectures. So similarly, we could say that the Facebook group that today we are officially announcing, this Facebook group will be also considered as a further extended and collective, in this case, reflection on the content of the book, which is based on the content of the series. So basically, that's what today we are announcing. Of course, this Facebook group that we will be opening in the context of extending the reflection on radical personalism is not the only Facebook group opened by Gaudiya Vaishnavas attempting to serve in this direction. So I'm not claiming here to be doing such a thing. But basically, this is another humble attempt to hopefully complement and contribute, and never in competition with whatever contributions other groups, Facebook groups, other Vaishnavas may be making or will be making in this direction. Again, we are all working together to nourish for and contribute for the same common cause. So that said, a brief introduction to the idea. For those of you who would like to participate in this group, to join us in this dialogue and conversation, extended dialogue, extended reflection and conversation, I wanted today, through this video, to officially announce the name, the group's name, so you can join it if you want. So the name of the group will be Gaudiya Reform Forum, and the subtitle of it will be A Platform for Dialogue, Reflection, and Healing. So you can look for this name in the Facebook search option and you will find it and you can join it. Needless to say, I will be putting the whole complete name and the link of the Facebook group in the comment section to this video, in the different platforms where it's being shared, so you don't need to memorize it just now. And apart from the official announcing, I would like to share a few words of introduction about what the group is about. So for those of you who may be thinking about joining, you may have a further idea of what you will encounter there. So let's try to briefly unpack the intention and the content that we plan to share in this Facebook group based on the name of the group. Let's explain a little bit the name and the subtitle of the group so we can have a further idea on this. So let's begin with the title of the group, Gaudiya Reform Forum. So this group is a forum which basically implies a collective effort. This won't be centered about me or a particular individual, but a collective effort to serve a common cause, as I already said, among the members of one same family, as we Gaudiyas are. We may belong to different paribars, to different families, to different missions, having different gurus and connected with different institutions, but at the end of the day, we are all part of the same Gaur Parivar, or the family of Mahaprabhu. So we all belong to the same trunk, to the same tree, and each of us are located trying to serve from different branches. So despite being in different branches of the same tree, every branch is expected to serve and nourish the interest of the tree. We never see branches fighting with one another, but actually collaborating and working together for the sake of the whole organism, so to say. So that's the intention behind this idea of forum, that all of us get together in the spirit of common unity and common service to a common cause. So in this forum, everyone will be welcome to participate, for sure. It's totally open. The idea is a platform which is totally non-sectarian, open. And of course, the idea or the rule for participating, if you want to use that word, is that your contribution, our contribution, is of course presented in a respectful way, in a broad-minded way, allowing for the principle of diversity, allowing for the dialogue in which we may agree that we will disagree on some moments. And basically, of course, we will share a few rules of participation and engagement in the group, so everything can be kept in certain Gaudiya Vaishnava perimeter of the quorum. But mostly all of this will have to do with remaining, again, constructive in one's observations and with the proper intention, again, of nourishing a common cause and hopefully pursuing truth and with honesty, and with dignity and with integrity. Even if sometimes the pursuit of truth may take us outside of our comfort zone and may invite us to recalibrate our paradigm, may invoke some paradigm shift. But all of this in the context of reforming our Gaudiya community. So what do I mean by reform? Since sometimes these words like radical and radical personalism have scared a few people, because usually some of these words may be associated with a particular meaning, which not necessarily is always what we are intending here. So by the word reform here, actually, the word reform has nothing to do with modifying the foundational teachings of our Sampradaya nor starting a new mission or something like that, but actually reflecting together what each of us can do responsibly to improve our own participation in the Gaudiya community. And again, always the reform starts at home. We are not here trying to change the world, but to change ourselves as part of that world, as part of the Gaudiya world, to begin with at least. And in fact, the very word reform is connected to giving new form, reform, new shape, to give new shape to begin with, starting at home again, give new shape to the way we used to see, to the way we used to conceive our tradition. So the reform, again, it starts with a change in our set of eyes, probably. So by reform, again, I make it clear again, we are not invoking an anarchic attempt, so to say, to complain or whimsically oppose any form of authority or institutions, but we're, by reform, trying to find new ways to reconceive, to rethink, to recalibrate our participation in the Gaudiya community in a way that is inspiring to all, in a way that gives place to all. New ways to keep Krishna Bhakti, as I mentioned in my book, relevant and relatable to our lives, to begin with. I would like to share with you a brief excerpt, a brief trailer of my book in this connection to further expand on this idea of what do we mean by reform and which will be the spirit of this group. It's a brief section, a brief paragraph in the conclusion section of my book. So it says like this. If we are bothered by some issues in the present Gaudiya community, it doesn't mean that our only option is to abandon Gaudiya Vaishnavism altogether. We can leave our current form of it and embrace a better version, one that allows and even encourages the growth we desire and need. In other words, what we may possibly need is a change of face, not a change of religion. an upcycling rather than a discarding. What we may possibly need is not to live Gaudiya Vaishnavism, but rather to discard all of the layers of immaturity, narrow-mindedness, and superficiality through which we continue to approach our own tradition. What we may need is not to live Gaudiya Vaishnavism, but to transform its early stages and our preconceived ideas of it into a more mature way of being a Gaudiya, one that corresponds with our present thirst. That's the new version of Gaudiya Vaishnavism we are talking about here, whatever that new version will be for each of us. So a brief section from my forthcoming book in this connection, connected to the spirit of this Facebook group we're announcing here. So anyhow, those are a few words trying to explain what we meant by Gaudiya Reform Forum. And before finishing, in case the explanation of the title is still not clear enough for some, let's share a few words about the group's subtitle, which naturally will further expand on the meaning of the group. The subtitle of the group is A Platform for Dialogue, Reflection, and Healing. So let's conclude with a few words on that. And again, in brief, the attempt of this online group is to create sacred space. We could call it like that. In this case, online sacred space, where each of us can feel safe, understood, and invited to be, as I spoke in my series of lectures, to be totally open, to be totally vulnerable, to be fully honest about those things that we may feel require update and upgrade, both in our personal lives as well as in the current state of affairs in some sections of the Gaudiya community. So this platform again, or sacred space, tries to become such by emphasizing the importance of these three aspects of dialogue, reflection, and healing, which will make the group hopefully sacred space that we all need to take shelter in. So somehow these three, dialogue, reflection, and healing, come in sequence, at least in my mind. And it always starts by dialogue, the importance of keep remaining open for communication. And dialogue doesn't only mean to be willing to speak, to express ourselves, to share, which is of course crucial, and to do so properly, to do so with respect and with honesty. But also dialogue implies, as you may suspect, the willingness to hear. And hearing doesn't mean just hearing, but hearing deeply, hearing with the willingness of being transformed, remaining open to being transformed by what we are hearing. Even if that hearing, again, challenges our present paradigms and invites us to a deeper grasp of reality. So first of all, dialogue has to do with that. That will be a premise in our group. Let's try to express ourselves, to be as open and vulnerable as we can, honest and sincere, and let's learn to honor that vulnerability and that openness by deeply hearing, deeply respecting, and deeply interacting and exposing ourselves to what we are hearing, willing to change, reform, again, starts at home. So first dialogue, but this healthy dialogue, again, is meant to cause reflection. That's the second part of the subtitle of the world, of the group. So this healthy dialogue, hearing and expressing ourselves, is meant to cause further reflection and rumination in and outside the online platform. Again, reflection will be shared in the group, but we have to be able to carry that reflection through our every single day of our lives and try to continue going deeper into that, inviting us to deeply ponder what we can do. What can we do to change whatever needs to be changed, whatever needs to be reshaped in us and around us. Again, it all begins at home, and gradually we can become a unity of epidemic enthusiasm and inspiration around us. So dialogue, reflection, and finally, so to say, the fruit of dialogue, proper reflection will be, in a word that we use here, healing, or integrating whatever unresolved issues may have been lurking, so to say, in our conscious or even subconscious mind as individuals or even as a collective mind, as a community, how to address those issues, how to heal them. Of course, for this healing to happen, as I mentioned first, there has to be a recognition of the wound, as I spoke in my book. If we want to speak about healing, first acknowledge the existence of the wound, and then acceptance of our need for treatment, for change, for restoration, for being redeemed through the acknowledgement of the wound. Eventually will come this healing, this reform, in other words, to being reshaped after going through the proper cycle that will conclude in this healing. So in conclusion, a few words I want to share about the meaning of the title and subtitle of the group in brief words. Of course, it will mean much more to all of us in time, for sure, I hope. And the hope of this group is not only to provide more this type of sacred space and more education and ideas on how we can continue developing our participation in the Gaudiya community, but also to provide the chance to each of you of getting to know about other local-minded practitioners and groups of kindred spirits who can be found across the world, wherever you may be. And in time, our hope is to gradually also inspire a global network of reformers who can have their local groups and gathering of friends, and in this way provide to each other a support system that may work in the decentralized way, which may be locally self-sufficient and compatible to the particular interest and mood that we are trying to share here. So that's at least our initial hope, an idea with this group. But of course, I'm sure that in time, many more ideas and many more purposes of this gathering will come forth to the surface and will manifest not only by one single person's contribution, but the contribution of each one of the members of this particular group who are willing to participate in this Gaudiya reform forum. So basically that, we look forward to you being a part of it, and through that to embrace the gift of Mahaprabhu, to embrace the gift of our parampara in deeper and newer ways. So I'll mention once again, the name of the group will be Gaudiya Reform Forum, a platform for dialogue, reflection, and healing. So I will be sharing the link and the exact name of the group in the comment sections where this video is being streamed, for those who would like to participate in it. And of course, we will be posting there regularly different things and inviting different people to post starting from today, different points, different reflections, different ideas, not only revolving around my series of lectures and my book about to be published on radical personalism, but different things which of course somehow or other are connected to what's published there, which basically is an invitation to all of us heal and grow and develop whatever needs to be developed for us as Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Also, just to conclude, there I will be mentioning eventually in time, we will be also reflecting on a series of podcasts that we will begin next month in July, also center about the topic of radical personalism and the different 6 sections of the book that we will plan to develop in that particular podcast. But again, more about that. We will share more news about that soon. So one more time, thank you so much for your time. And see you all this Sunday, if you can, for the book launch on radical personalism. Gaur Hari.